He has a nose for news and a face for radio. You're listening to Price's Highway, the podcast, with your host, Steve Price. Buckle up, Spring Hill Metroplex, and enjoy the ride.
Ho, ho, ho. Santa Claus is coming to town. I'll dial up the North Pole to talk to the big man himself. Meet some members of a local organization called Spring Hill Sparkles and see how they're making Christmas brighter for many folks in our area. Find out some of the strangest gifts your friends and neighbors have ever received. And if that wasn't a gigantic enough show for you, I sit down with Spring Hill Mayor Rick Graham to learn more about him not only as a politician, but as a person. Plus, learn about a new way of getting in and out of Spring Hill's most popular shopping destination. All right, giddy up. Let's do this thing.
You're listening to Price's Highway, presented by Price Sells Homes. Don't think twice. Call Keri Price at 615-497-3317. That's 615-497-3317. Now back to the podcast.
Hello, everyone. Well, since my voice guy's in Florida enjoying the warmer weather, I want to introduce you to a new sponsor to the big show. As you know, Price's Highway, the podcast, is presented by Price Sells Homes, and it still is. But now it is being powered and produced by in-house digital media, helping you elevate, educate, and expand your brand. Full disclosure, it's my company. So go to the website, inhousedigitalmedia.com, after the show, and see if there's a way I can help you and your team do something bold. Okay, now that that's out of the way, welcome to another episode of Price's Highway, the podcast. We've got a big show for you today, so let's get right to it. It's the holidays, and that means gifts are being purchased and wrapped, and hopefully, if you're lucky, you may even get one or two. But have you ever received a gift so strange that you still remember it to this day? That's the question I asked on the Price's Highway Facebook group, and here are some of the comments. Okay, some of the strangest gifts some of your friends and neighbors, and who knows, maybe even some of your family members have received. Here we go. All right, Katrina received some squirrel underpants. Mary got a used coffee cup from her ex-mother-in-law. Reagan got a Chucky doll. You know, nothing says happy holidays quite like a killer doll. And Christy apparently got an old used teddy bear from her former boyfriend in 8th grade. She writes, "Fur was extremely worn and eyes were scratched up quite a bit. He wasn't supposed to have a girlfriend per his parents' rules, so I'm pretty sure he snagged whatever was around the house. I opened my locker to get some books. He ran by and threw the bear in my locker and just kept running. That night, I went to a friend's sleepover, and one of my friends was like, 'Christy, do you think that's used, maybe?' And then there was a gift so strange, I just had to dial up the person who left the comment." All right, we have Shauna on the line. She had the strangest gift I think I've ever seen. Shauna, what is that thing that you put on my Facebook group?
So it's this doll, and this doll is sun-baked on the front and not on the back. It spent a lot of time laying in the sun, and it has my little brother's hair glued to it and trimmed in a mullet fashion.
This thing is incredible. And if you're listening to this and you're not on my Facebook group, get on there right now. It's in the show notes. Click the link. You've got to see this. Shauna, tell us more about this.
So my family is so special. And my Uncle Chris is the most special of them all. He has a very weird sense of humor.
What's his name again? Uncle who?
His name, Chris.
Uncle Chris.
Yes.
All right.
And to make this more weird, Chris is an elected official in Texas. Yes. So people vote for him to have his job, and then he does weird things like this. So when I think I was like 7 or 8, I just remember that we lived in Montana, so that's how I know I was around that age. I got a piece of mail from my uncle, and I opened it, and it was his beard trimmings. He shaved his beard, and he said that my Ken dolls needed armpit hair, so he sent it to me. Yes. So,
because whose uncle doesn't do that?
None of my other uncles are. Oh gosh, I can't even. He's so weird. So you don't forget that. No. You don't forget opening an envelope full of hair. And I never used it. I never glued it to my Kindle.
I was going to ask, do you have pictures of that?
No. Oh gosh, I don't know if I do. Probably not. It was a really long time ago. But yeah, you don't forget that. So finally, how do you pay somebody back for that? I'm not really sure. And then my brother graduated from Independence in 2017, I think. And I mean, he graduated. We recreated a photo of him and a cat. It was a thing. And then he asked me to shave his head. And I was like, okay, never seen you with short hair. So I buzzed it and I was like, oh, this is my moment. I'm going to send it to Chris.
Your moment to shine.
This is my moment. So I stuffed the envelope, put it in the mail, and I waited a couple days. And I asked him, it's like, did you get my present? And he's like, no, but I'm scared. He never got that envelope of hair. It's just like floating out in in the world somewhere. My brother's hair. That makes me laugh just as hard because it's like, oh. Yeah, so then it was like, well, that failed. Dang it. And then it was like a year later, my brother's like, okay, my hair's driving crazy. Like, buzz it again. And I was like, okay, we'll try this again. And sure enough, 3 days later, Chris got the hair. And he sent a picture, like, oh, I got it. Thanks a lot. You're weird. Yeah. Like, I didn't start, like, I started it. And that was it was like May or June. I sent him the hair. And he has a pond behind his house. And there was this doll that had been washed up on the shore for a long time. And he just never tossed it. And so finally, it all clicked in his head that he was going to make me this doll with my brother's hair. And so yeah, he got the hair in May, June, and he made the doll and saved it for me until Christmas. So he was sharing pictures of the whole process, the gluing of the hair, the cutting of the hair, all this stuff with my mom and my other uncle. And I had no idea, but they kept talking about how I was going to get the greatest Christmas present ever. And I was like, okay. And my uncle is my Vegas buddy, which sounds weird, but we have a great time together there. And so I was like, maybe he got me tickets to Vegas. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm all excited. Yeah, no, I opened a box, got a trash bag in it. I opened the trash bag, and it's like, I couldn't even process what I was seeing. And everybody else was already dying laughing. It was so funny. And so I pulled out this doll. We all died for a long time. It got passed around. And now it sits in my living room. It's on full display.
You should put it on Pinterest.
Oh, my God. People
Why not?
We're psychos. Oh, my God.
It's the hottest gift of the season.
Yeah. I mean, he put a lot of thought into it. That was sweet.
Washed up mullet, baby.
Right. And so I keep asking my brother to trim his beard. And my brother has blonde hair on the top of his head, but his beard is red. And I'm like, will you please trim it so I can glue more hair on this doll in other places and gift it back? And he hasn't done it yet.
Oh.
But I'm waiting. I have to pay my uncle back somehow, and I just don't know how to do it.
Well, keep us updated.
I will for
with
sure.
Plenty of pictures. Well, Shauna, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
With all this talk about presents, let's talk with the biggest gift giver we know, Santa Claus himself. I just happened to get his number, so let's give him a ring, shall we?
Ho, ho, ho! Thank you for calling Santa. This is Santa in Santa's Workshop.
This is Santa?
Yes, sir.
Well, then you know who this is, right? If you're Santa, you're all knowing. You know who's calling in then, right?
I believe this is Steve Price from Price's Highway Podcast.
Wow, look at you. This is great. Hey, I've heard that you've been in the area quite a few times.
Yes, I've visited many children in the Spring Hill area.
And this year, you've been around some of the big events. Tell us about that.
Well, I did. I was there for the Thompson Station's tree lighting. That was very exciting. Spring Station Middle School this last weekend, and we took some photos. I was at Rise Up Nutrition in Columbia, Tennessee. We took some more photos. It was great.
Well, how are the kids these days? Are they naughty? Are they nice? What's going on?
Realistically, most of them are on the good list. There are a few naughty ones, but not too naughty.
Well, what are these nice and naughty kids asking for Christmas? What's the big popular toy that everybody's asking for this year?
Well, we've had a lot of requests on the little girl side with the water horse and other Elsa 2 toys, dresses, dolls, etc.
Should I know what this water horse is?
I haven't seen the movie yet either, Steve. I just have my elves working on it.
All right. And I hear they are hard at work right now.
They are. Well, sometimes you have to kind of nudge them after a big hot cocoa break, but generally they're hardworking individuals, yes.
Ooh, and what about the reindeer? Are they working out? Are they pumping iron? Are they getting ready for the big, huge day?
Yes, they've been eating well, lots of carrots and oatmeal. And, I'd take them out and exercise them more, but that darn Federal Aviation Administration only allows me to fly them on December 24th.
The red tape of bureaucracy, that's always going to happen. Okay, so...
It's horrible, Steve. It's horrible.
So before Christmas, will kids have an opportunity to see you around here again?
Yes, sir. Coming up at the end of this week, December 15th, I will be at the Bethesda Elementary School luncheon from 1:30 to 3:30. I'll also be at Fireflies from 9 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, December 21st, Saturday, December 22nd at Martin's Barbecue from 11 to 2 p.m., and December 23rd, extra special pancake breakfast at Viking Pizza, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Come have pancakes with Santa, make some pictures with some pancakes and fruit and whipped cream and that kind of fun stuff. It'll be a blast.
Ooh, and I hear donations go to something very special, don't they?
Yes. Spring Hill local city park is going to get some handicap accessible equipment via the Kiwanis of Spring Hill and Thompson Station.
All right, so your dollars are going to a good cause. So before I let you go, I know you're busy, and I really appreciate you taking my call, but we've got to know a couple things. First, what is your favorite kind of cookie?
Steve, my favorite is chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. And with the milk, are you skim, 1%, 2%, or are you a whole guy?
Steve, Santa's trying to stay trim, although it's hard for me with all the cookies, but 2% is my favorite.
All right. And the final question. Okay, last year I kind of ended up on your naughty list. Just not proud of that.
No worries, Steve. This year you're on the good list.
So I'm nice. So I'm on the nice list.
You're on the nice list, Steve.
Great. Well, Santa, thank you so much. Now get back to I don't know. What do you do? Whip the elves?
Well, they're right now they're making toys, but I think at the moment they're on one of their hot cocoa breaks. I need to go get them working again.
Thank you so much for taking my call.
Steve, thank you. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you.
Ho, ho, ho.
Okay, now it's time for Price's Headlines. Bob Turner from Wingate Estates was rounding up Christmas decorations in his attic when he noticed an old box with his name on it. Upon opening the box, he noticed an unopened pack of baseball cards from 1993. Doing what every other man would do, he ripped open the pack and enjoyed the stale gum, still as fresh as the day it was put in its packaging. And this just in, a local man's moral compass points south every time he drives north on Main Street, or as we call it, Price's Highway here. Area driver Maxwell Wright blames slow traffic, long school zones, and drivers who cut through and behind the Buckner Road Shell Station with not so much as a wave as the cause for his moral decline. And finally, Murray Regional Hospital was given an excellent grade in safety by a group called the Leapfrog Safety Group. They apparently keep an eye on hospitals all over the nation and tally up the number of patients that don't croak while inside healthcare facilities. And those were your Price's Headlines. And now it's time for the real headlines with Chris Yao, managing editor of the Advertiser News of Spring Hill and Thompson Station.
Newsroom, this is Chris.
Happy holidays. It's Steve Price. What's happening, Chris?
Steve, what's going on, man? I am just sitting here looking at the newspaper that we just put out this week and all kinds of great Christmas stuff in it and holly jolly Christmas time.
All right. What you got going on this week?
Well, first, let's just keep that Christmas spirit going. The Holly Jolly Christmas special section is in this. It's the first 5 pages of the B section. You can check out tons of local advertisers telling you about all the events that they have going on this holiday season, but also some really cool and unique stories that you might find helpful, such as 10 useful ways to find out what they want for Christmas without asking them, which is super helpful. Lots of stuff like that. Additionally, probably the big story this week was they opened the second entrance to the crossing, but will probably most likely just be the second exit from the crossing, because that's the most important part, right? How the heck do we get out of there after we've shopped all day?
Right, especially this time of year.
Oh yeah, that's the most important thing, is getting the heck out of there. So now that second exit is open and you can go right, back towards downtown Spring Hill, pretty easy if you just go behind Olive Garden there, and then right behind where the new Five Guys and Sleep Number mattress store is going to be. And you come out right there by the new racetrack gas station, and you're good to go.
If you're shopping over there at the Target, you don't have to deal with that circle.
Right. No. Well, you have to, but it's only, you just have to. Well, technically, no. I don't guess you have to.
No,
you
just
could.
head right for the Olive Garden and then take a right.
Yeah, you could just. Yeah, you don't even have to deal with the roundabout anymore. So that's really gonna hurt some of the memes in the Facebook group.
It really will, man. But I'm happy about that. Way to go, city.
Oh man. Absolutely. That was a huge win for the city, and really something that everyone knows we needed. I mean, it wasn't a secret. So I think that's pretty important that they were able to accomplish that goal, especially before Mayor Graham got out of office, because he's been trying to figure out a way to extend that road out past the Hampton Inn right there forever. So Getting this exit certainly helped.
And Mayor Graham, he's going to be on the show a little later on.
That's right. I heard that. I'm really excited to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, we had a really good conversation, so I can't wait to play that for everybody. Yeah, so everybody stay tuned. Mayor Graham is coming up in a few minutes.
Mayor Graham has been on the kind of the warpath, but quietly. A lot of people don't realize that, but lately he's been trying to get these parks in Spring Hill, going. He's trying to get something to where the city can acquire some parkland, right? Well, last week in the Advertiser news, you saw on the front page where the park task force or sports complex task force had a big presentation and said, look, here's what it's going to cost, blah, blah, blah. Well, this week the city has rolled out a survey for residents. So they've been sending out this survey. You fill it out. What kind of parks would you like to see? What sort of, parks do you want to have? A big park? Do you want to have pocket parks, in different areas of the city, maybe near 2 or 3 subdivisions all together, that sort of thing. So that's really important. And I think if you care about some green space, Mayor Graham will tell you that it's vitally important to the city to have that green space, as well as, the roads are all funded. So it's, at this point, the major road projects are funded, and now he wants to make sure we have some of those extra amenities to help bring in those, major corporations.
Great. And hey, how's everything going with the big merger over there at the Advertiser News with Gannett?
Well, if you have noticed, last week on the front page and this week on page 2, we have had some articles from the Tennessean. Both of them deal with Williamson County. You'll get some of that Williamson County news through our paper as well from those Tennessean reporters. They do a fantastic job. They have a much bigger staff, and their ability to really go out and find those unique stories in Williamson County is unparalleled. So we are happy to have those resources and happy to share them with our readers.
Yeah, well, I noticed on the last edition of the newspaper from last week that Emily West was in there. She's from the Tennessean. And yeah, it just really rounds out the newspaper, in my opinion.
It just is an extra added bonus. We didn't have a whole lot of Williamson County coverage before as far as government and that sort of thing. So now we get to reap the benefits of everything they have to offer.
Okay, so it is the holiday season. We started out the big conversation with the holidays, and we just heard about the strangest gifts people have received in our community. And do you have like a strange Christmas story or a favorite Christmas memory or a least favorite Christmas memory?
Well, my least favorite Christmas memory was probably when I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. My brothers are I think they're 4 and 5 years younger than me. So they were, maybe 7 or 8 at this time. And we were awakened about 3 a.m. by my stepdad, who had been drinking on Christmas Eve, because any parent who's ever had to put together a dollhouse or anything on Christmas Eve, alcohol is definitely helpful. If you don't go
hit me up with some more nog, honey.
Yeah, if you don't go overboard. Unfortunately, he went a bit overboard, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up to, all right, boys, get up. Santa done brought you a go-kart. And I was like, oh, dear God. So, yeah, we got up at 3 a.m, and my brothers rode the go-kart around for about 2 hours, maybe, and then went back to sleep, woke up around 7 or 8, and then by 8 o'clock, it was already broken down. They had run it into the ground already. So it took them about a total of 5 hours from get up, boys, to hey, can we fix this or no? And I'm not even sure it ever got fixed. I just know it was probably the worst Christmas memory ever. But looking back on it now, it's just really funny because I know what he was going through trying to put that go-kart together, and I know why he was drinking so much.
The rest of the day he had a hangover. But, it was the holidays. It's Christmas. Merry Christmas.
No, you don't have a hangover if you just keep drinking.
Well, there you go. All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much for being on the big show today. And we're only doing one podcast in December, so this is it. So this is our holiday spectacular, I guess you want to call it. And we'll see you next year.
All right. I'll look forward to it. Thanks, man.
We appreciate Chris Yao and all of our friends at the Advertiser News of Spring Hill and Thompson Station for being Price's Highway, the podcast, media sponsor. All right, let's take a quick commercial break.
You're listening to Price's Highway, presented by Price Sells Homes. Don't think twice. Call Keller Price at 615-497-3317. That's 615-497-3317. Now back to the podcast.
All right, everybody, we have Keri Price from Price Sells Homes right here in the Price's Highway studio. How are you?
Hi, everybody. Happy holidays. I am doing great, feeling a little jollier than usual because I have really good news to share this morning.
You have some good news.
Yes.
Tell us.
Yes. Okay, so last week we were kind of getting down to the wire trying to find in our market center sponsors for 100 angels that were hanging on our angel tree.
And that's Keller Williams.
At Keller Williams Realty on Main Street. At the end of last week, we had 25 angels left. And we all were really getting nervous because it was difficult to find and really to get the word out, not to find people that want to be a part of it, but to get the word out about the opportunity. So the realtor friends that I have at the office and I got to work and started spreading the news. And as of Sunday night, this past Sunday night, we had 6 angels remaining that needed to be adopted. And the amazing thing was Monday morning, so a couple days ago, Monday morning, I go into the office and I find out those last 6 were adopted. And someone that's part of the office staff felt very generous and jumped in and took all 6 and went shopping for them with her husband. And just really, I'm just blown away at how God works and the generosity of everyone that was involved in this. My clients stepped up, my friends stepped up, my family stepped up and helped. And it was just so wonderful to just be reminded of how many people in our community are just so caring and so generous in this Spring Hill Thompson Station community where we live. The people that you think would not be able to stretch it and make it and become a sponsor are usually the first ones to step up and do it. And that just really warms my heart. But we've now got 100 seniors and children that are going to be blessed on Christmas morning with gifts they were not expecting, from things they need to things they want. And it just makes me so happy to be able to bring that news.
Well, that is excellent. Wonderful news. That, of course, was Keri Price from Price Sells Homes. And although the Keller Williams Angel Tree program is wrapped up for the year, there's another special group of folks right here in the Spring Hill area who are always wanting to make the Christmas season brighter for those who might be in a tight spot. And you know what? There is still time for you to help out. The group is called Spring Hill Sparkles, and 2 of its members dropped by recently to talk all about what it is they do. Take a listen. All right, everybody, we have 2 of the founding members of Spring Hill Sparkles in the Priceless Highway studio today. We have Stacy Moore and we have Scott Sparks. How are y'all?
Fine, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for inviting us.
Now, you all have been doing this for 4 years now.
Yeah, this is our 4th year.
Reaching out to the community to help community members who might be struggling this time of year.
Yeah, just try to give a hand to some people who may be struggling through the holidays, maybe just need a little bit of an assistance, help provide a good holiday for their families.
Well, take us back in time. How did this all get started?
So we had a mutual friend that was struggling one year. We were talking at first, we were just gonna pitch in and help just her. And then, like as we started doing that, like I said, if we get everybody to pitch in, we can help more people. So it kind of just snowballed from there.
I think Evie was saying, I wish we could help her out. And Sparks was like, well, why can't we? And he started throwing out ideas and we started thinking, you're right, why can't we? And it just kind of went from there.
So you got together, and how much money did you get that first year?
Oh, that first year, I think we maybe got close to about $1,200.
Okay.
Something like that the first year.
So $1,200, that's pretty good. I mean, that's really good.
We were amazed.
Yeah. Just dreaming up this.
Yeah, I think we set our goal for like $500 and it just snowballed on us. I mean, we kept raising the goal and thinking, this is crazy. And I mean, it was wonderful, but yeah.
Right. So when you get this money, what are you buying with it?
Primarily, we try to do gift cards because we don't want to be doing the shopping for someone. We want them to be able to choose what it is that they need. And so we usually talk to them and give them a choice. Do they want a Kroger card, Target, Walmart, a type of store where you can get food, clothing, toys, whatever fits their need, diapers, formula. And we get gift cards and we distribute those.
And you know who these people are because they have to fill out registration form, or does somebody do that for them? Or both?
It can be both. You can sponsor someone if you know someone in need, if you know somebody who needs help but they don't want to ask, if someone needs help and you don't want them to know that you're sponsoring them. I mean, we have on our Facebook page, there's a pinned form that you fill it out and it's completely anonymous. You only fill out what you want to fill out. I mean, of course, we're going to need a name and a phone number to be able to contact someone. But the 3 of us are the only ones who see it, and it goes from there.
Okay, so that's Spring Hill Sparkles on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. So you have the gift cards. Now you have to meet the people. How do you distribute? Do you go to their house? Do you meet somewhere?
We usually meet somewhere. It's whatever's more convenient for them. After they fill out the form, we can contact them through email, or they can email us. Aside from the Facebook page, they can send a message there or email. And we have a conversation with them about their needs, about the type card they would like and all that. And then we find out how the best way to get it to them is. And sometimes it's, at their work. Sometimes it's at a parking lot of a Walmart, just whatever works for them.
And when you meet these people, I mean, that's probably Christmas for you, right?
it's absolutely Christmas for me. That's what I look forward to all year. It's amazing. It's the best feeling.
I bet you it's an emotional roller coaster for.
It can be. That's there's only been maybe 1 or 2 times that I have left from meeting somebody that I wasn't crying and all hugged up, and meeting new people and just seeing the joy on their faces and knowing that we helped them to be able to give their kid a good Christmas. That's what it's about for us. It's for the kids.
Have y'all done any follow-ups with people you've helped and have some stories about that?
Well, there was one year this girl was wanting a camera, so we got a camera for her, and I'm a photographer, so I talked to her mom a little bit after that and asked how she was doing with it, and talked about possibly going out and giving her some lessons on how to use it. But I haven't ever been able to follow up beyond that, but the last I heard, she was doing great and loving it and was so thankful still.
So if people want to give to your group, how do they go about doing this?
We have that GoFundMe link on our Facebook page, and we post it throughout the other Facebook groups pretty much all the way through Christmas.
And what is the goal this year, the financial goal?
I think we have it set at $2,000, but whatever anybody can give. That's the goal, is just to help as many families and kids in Spring Hill as we're able to help.
And last year you all hit about, what, 1,850 or something?
Yeah, I think so.
How many people were you able to help with that money?
I think at the last count, we were able to help about 12 families, about 41 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Because I think the first year that we did this, we helped 9 kids, and we were just so amazed that we were able to do that. So 41 kids is just mind-blowing for us. It was just so great.
Right. And this is not the only time of year you all are working Spring Hill Sparkles. You guys are helping around the year, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, we've done diaper drives for Prevent Child Abuse Tennessee. We've done food drives for the well. We've done 9/11 dinners for Jamie Craig's remembering our first responders. We've done, we did a coat drive, I think, one year. We just try to stay active throughout the year because, our focus is the holidays, but there's need all year long. So we want to be doing what we can.
All right, Stacy and Scott, thanks so much for dropping by.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, now is probably the time in the podcast where you can go ahead and press pause, because you're going to want to get yourself a drink, you're going to want to get yourself a snack, you want to come back and press play, because the most recognizable guest that we've ever had on the show will be joining us. Well, I guess Santa was pretty recognizable. But in our area, the mayor of Spring Hill is pretty recognizable too. And Rick Graham was gracious enough to come by the Price is Highway studio, sit down, chat about life. We chatted about politics, sports, and why not? Festival, Tennessee. Mayor Graham, thank you so much for coming by the Price is Highway studio.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's an honor to have you here.
I love it.
Well, you're in Thompson Station now,
yeah.
So you can pretty much say whatever you want to.
Yeah. It's kind of like Vegas.
Yeah. And don't worry. Nobody's listening anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So. Well, okay, so you are the mayor of Spring Hill. What number mayor are you?
Oh, gosh. It's funny you'd say that because I lost my list. When was it? A few years ago, I wondered that too. So I went back over a lot of history books and some of these historic books of Spring Hill.
Yeah.
And just tried to count up. And in fact, I wrote mayors' names down. And, oh, gosh. And I can't find it now. Now I've lost that piece of paper. I'm thinking it's somewhere in the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
So for people at home or on the road right now who don't know what a mayor does, I know all cities are different. They govern differently. But as far as Spring Hill is concerned, what is your major role?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question because people most of the time think Spring Hill has a full-time mayor.
Right.
Well, we don't. We never have. And it could happen one day with some growth. But even Murfreesboro with 160,000 people has a part-time mayor, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because knowing that Spring Hill, we actually could run with a full-time city administrator and a full-time mayor. Because Victor Lay and I, our current city administrator, we divide and conquer a lot. Sure. I mean, we decide on things, certain meetings, but I call it my real job, what it pays the bills.
Yep.
And so I have to make sure I do all my work in that regard. And then, late afternoons, nights, that's when I put on the mayor hat, weekends for events and things. Some meetings sometimes during the week I'll have 4 to 5 meetings in a day. And, and a couple events mixed in. So it varies.
So what do you do?
Yeah. And to get back to your original question, being a part-time mayor, and again, I'm only one vote on the board of mayor and alderman on the BOMA.
So you can vote every time?
Yeah, I can vote every time. That's a good question because some mayors, I believe, some don't vote at all. Some only vote on a tie. Yep. Mayor Spring Hill always votes on every issue. And sometimes I wish I didn't, have to, because the only time it really gets contentious is when you're voting on people to be on your library board. And it's kind of hard, when you got 5 great candidates, citizens that are wanting to serve on the board, and we got 3 spots, and none of us like to tell something, we've actually had people get mad at us, but other than that, it's the normal voting system. But the mayor facilitates, chairs the meetings. That's my responsibility, and that's been fun here lately. And also, I hate to say the face of the city, Lord, because I'm not a face guy, but to be at those appearances and the events and to say a few words sometimes at openings and.
Well, you're certainly a figurehead.
Yeah, thank you. And I go to a lot of, I'm in a lot of transportation meetings. Mm-hmm. That's basically when I got elected. Almost 7 years ago. That was one of the things that I was going to make sure that I did was make sure I attended, and it's worked because now I'm the co-chair of our regional GRNC or NPO, which. All improvements of roads go through that committee before even TDOT, so those kind of attendance has been very important.
Let's go back in time, like way far away. How old of a man are you?
I'm 62.
All right.
Yeah.
And where were you born?
I was born in just south of Spring Hill in South Tennessee, Lawrence County, which is Lawrenceburg. And but I wasn't raised there because my dad was military, Air Force. And that's the reason I grew up mostly in the Smyrna area, because you're too young to even know this too, that there used to be an Air Force base in Smyrna, which that's why they get so many of the air shows and such as that. But that base closed in 1970 or 71, and we were stationed at Smyrna, I think 4 times. So I went like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. Dad got transferred, and then we came back. I think I spent 2 or 3 years at junior high, left again, and came back my sophomore year of high school. And so I call hometowns is Smyrna. And I went to college in Murfreesboro, in Middle Tennessee State.
What did you study?
I studied business administration.
All right, and that's what you're doing now, right?
That's what I'm doing now. I've been, going on 40 years now.
You want to tell us what you do?
Yeah, I've always been. I did get out. I think 1 year I tried to be a headhunter.
Okay.
And but I just couldn't take the desk job. So all these years I've been in the what I call the food contract business, and work for a company now called Sage Dining, and we have 16 schools in Tennessee. They're independent private schools. And we hire chefs that are burned out in the restaurant business, and we put out incredible lunches you wouldn't believe. It's built in their tuition, so there's no cash registers. We cook food from scratch. It's very healthy, balanced type foods, and it's really nice because there again, like here in a couple of weeks, I got 2 or 3 weeks that it really slows down because a lot of our schools are closed.
What were some of your interests as a kid and as a teenager? What were some of the things you like to do?
Yeah. One, motorcycle riding. In fact,
Really?
I just sold my bike to past Vice Mayor Bruce Hall because it sat in my garage for 2 years. Go figure, 2 jobs. I didn't get on it very much. It kind of broke my heart selling my motorcycle. And but I started off with mini bikes, dirt bikes, had a motorcycle through college. I actually lived in a fraternity house and rode my motorcycle up the stairs, just like Animal House.
Now, do we have any pictures or videos?
No.
Or I guess film?
I guarantee there's some fraternity brothers in Murfreesboro that would know about this. And I used to park it in my room, turn the little gas knob off, and I slept with my motorcycle during college. And what else? Of course, I'm a very active kid, with my parents kicked us out of the house at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't come in till dark, and we played sports all day. I never was a good athlete, but played a little bit of junior high football, but played a lot of tennis and a lot through college and high school. Again, not tall enough or big enough. If I had your height and reach, I could have been a better tennis player because it takes somebody over 6 foot. But I love that. My biggest hobby today is genealogy.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, my brother does a lot of that.
Yeah, I'm hooked. I've been doing it about 20, 25 years, even before Ancestry.com and those kind of sites. And but right now, I probably got 45,000 names in my family database.
Wow, what's the most interesting story?
I've got a couple connections. One, I'm related to George Washington Duke, who Duke University was named after. He was the king of tobacco in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I was actually related to one of his brothers. It's my ancestor. And I have a connection to George Washington through marriage.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So George Washington's in my Asheville database, but that one's not blood related. That was through a marriage connection, but still pretty cool.
That is cool. I mean, he can lead the country, you can lead the city. How about that? Do you have thoughts? Well, I know, I don't think this is breaking news or anything, but you're not going to run for reelection, correct?
Yeah, I've been pretty clear about that. Of course, Vincent Fuquay's already out there, and he wouldn't have done that if I, would have been thinking any chance of running again. But in a year and a half, April of 21, I'll be done, and that'll be 14 years on the board. I think Spring Hill's had enough of me, So,
no, that's not true.
And so it's time for some of these younger folks to take over, definitely. But it's been a good 14 years. I've learned a lot. But
what do you plan on doing afterwards?
I'm definitely going to take a break for a little while. And then after that, I'm going to retire from my real job in about 7 years. I'll be pushing that 70 mark, and I plan on retiring then. I may dabble in something, after that. We'll see, but definitely I'm going to take a break for a while, and just see what it's like to do my job and come home.
It's been a while. So what advice would you give the next mayor coming in?
Well, one, it's a very good question, because it's the mayor job is so different. It's very challenging, because of you got 8 aldermen and a mayor, and of course everybody looks at the mayor like the driving force, and these aldermen, they all make up their own minds. They're all, their own little judges, and that's what I tell them. I tell them all the time, I'm not a twist arm mayor, never have been. I don't get in people's faces after they vote something that I don't agree with. That's their choice. I tell people to vote their conscience, but do their due diligence. Please do your homework and don't just make a decision because it's the hot topic on social media at the time. Make sure it's the right decision for Spring Hill. And but the next mayor, you it's nothing you're going to be totally prepared for. I do like and prefer that an alderman becomes mayor because just a learning curve. The learning curve, even going from alderman to mayor, the learning curve's so big. It takes some time and just to get your feet, on the ground and running. For somebody that's not been coming to our meetings or too involved, Now, somebody out of the planning commission might, transition okay into it or something like that. But to come straight in would definitely take a little while to catch up on some things. But the one thing they would never prepare for would be becoming thick-skinned. And because you've got to be definitely content enough or strong enough to take criticism, your name being slandered, even when things are not true. And but the mayor is one of those jobs you probably get credit when you maybe too much when you shouldn't, and get blamed too much at times too. So it's one of those kind of jobs. But I've enjoyed it. I really have.
Now, you got into it because of noisy neighbors?
That's what got me into the alderman seat in 2007. And I actually started going to meetings in 2006. And a lot of people don't know this. There's so much history of Spring Hill just in the last 20 years. And 2006, I went because I had some businesses in my backyard that like to take the music out on the patio. And 10:30 on Tuesday night, I'm listening to Freebird. Now, I love Freebird,
who doesn't?
But Tuesday at 10:30, I have to get up at 4:30. I'm thinking, and we didn't have a noise ordinance with a decibel level.
Uh-huh.
So I went to the board. First time I ever went in City Hall, walked up to the podium. The same people come to us now. And I just asked them to add a decibel level to the noise ordinance. And outside of past Alderman Jonathan Duda, the rest of them kind of thumbed their nose at me. And I thought, okay. So I started going to the Bowman meetings. And after about a month, I kind of forgot what I came for because we were in a mess. We were about $3 million in the red, had zero property tax. The economy was starting to slip and dipped into the 8 and 9 recessions. So the city even passed a retirement plan for all the employees with $3 million in the red. I mean, it was just sitting out in the audience. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And so that's what drove me to run for alderman. And I beat the incumbent and 3 others in my first run. That one, I actually knocked on about maybe 800 doors, not a whole lot. I credit my church and a lot of good friends getting me elected then. And when I ran for mayor the first time, I knocked on over 5,000 doors, so to give a little comparison. But that's what got me in. I tell people now, they come up to concerned citizens on our agenda, and I say, be careful about complaining. You could become mayor.
That's true. Look at you. Okay, so you talked about being thick-skinned, and I want to ask you a question about Spring Hill and the surrounding areas being on these social media forums. There's several of them. I'm banned from at least one of them that I know of. Thick-skinned would be the right word.
Yeah.
And how much sway does social media have in decision making?
It's really become almost a new norm. I think we saw it in the last couple of elections. I think my last election, what did I win by 19 votes or something? It was not a lot, and there was a big, I had a big lead on the early voting, and then election day there was a pretty big swing on social media and some things that were voiced and said, and people that know me know I'm not that I'm not that out there speaking my mind a lot publicly. I'm kind of a low-key team building kind of person. I like to get things done in a civil matter. It's work and things. And so I believe that, and then with the low turnout of the city elections, I think that adds to it, that you can actually, elections can be turned pretty easily with our local social media, definitely. And speaking of elections, I'll go ahead and say out there right now that, that's one reason I supported moving the elections to November. And I was only one. Twice I have took it to the board, and in both times they were like, why are you bringing it? We're not going to do this. And I said, well, I'm going to make you do it. I'm going to make you decide again that you're not. And in fact, we did a poll. Jamie Page, our communications director, did a poll that I asked him to do on social media, and the citizens overwhelmingly supported moving the election, and then the alderman chose again not to. They want to keep it in April, and they're afraid that money gets involved with contributions, that the Spring Hill election would get lost and all that. But I think voters are smarter in that, and I believe people will do their homework and not just go vote for the president or whatever the election is, at that time, and not, lose sense of the local piece of that. And but if we can turn 5.67,
something like that,
if we could turn that into 42% of people, choosing their local leaders, why wouldn't you? Now, I fully support, Alderman Fitterer and a couple of others are like, well, let's do what we can to increase the poll hours, increase the polls, have more of them. Williamson County is doing a good job with that, with their change. Unfortunately, we can't do that because our city hall is on the Murray side. But I'm all for that too. But why not do that and move the election? But, again, it's a board decision, when you're I don't complain when I'm the low man, decisions all the time. So,
what is one of the biggest projects, whether it be controversial or just something that wasn't controversial, just something nice for the community? What was something that sticks out in your mind as your favorite project?
Wow, favorite project, Stephen. That's a good one. Let me think here. My mind automatically goes to transportation so much because that's what we've been so in tune to, these 7 years, and then even the few years before I became mayor. Favorite project, there's been a couple that I have not been able to do yet. Business incubator is one that I've always wanted to start. And I thought when we got Northfield that we'd have enough space out there to start a small business incubator. Because I have a heart for entrepreneur or small business type deal. And I kind of see that for downtown Spring Hill, the town center, non-chains, just that great 12th Avenue South that Nashville has spirit in that area. So that was one that I'm probably going to leave office and not see happen. Probably the one that stands out, I guess, would be the I-65 $25 million build grant.
That's a big deal.
That was if people don't realize that interstate interchange, Spring Hill, we're putting in $21 million into that I-65 interchange in addition to that $25 million grant. We basically turned the grant over to TDOT because it came with strings that
it sure did.
We couldn't even make.
Yep.
The deadlines. So TDOT was like, oh, thank goodness. And that's been a whole nother thing that we have focused on for the last 7 years. It's been building that TDOT relationship. And we have come such a long ways. Representative Sam Whitson likes to joke that TDOT must have an office in Spring Hill, or we have an office by TDOT's office in Nashville, because we're meeting with them and we have such a great relationship with them now. But that that interchange, that $25 million grant, probably moved up, I'd say 3 to 4 years at least. But in 2024, we'll be out there opening up that interstate interchange. 25 at the latest, but we're being optimistic that it'll happen in mid-24.
Because it has to happen, as far as the money is concerned.
Yeah, we have to. The deadline's to start it. We
Okay.
have to start it. So that we're going to make. That's looking very promising. And with TDOT driving the ship on that part. But we are responsible for Butler Lane and all the, the extension of Buckner Road all the way to Lewisburg Pike.
Yep.
Which includes parts not even in Spring Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And Buckner Road, let me explain that first because, the interstate interchange and Buckner Lane are going to open at the same time. That has to happen. And it just makes sense with, we have 75% of our people living really close to this interstate interchange. And you got 75% of 43,000 people that can migrate to Butler Lane and duplex will be done next year. So now we're going to have a nice L-shaped road that'll cut right through Spring Hill, that people can get up on either duplex, Buckner Lane, interstate interchange, and be heading north in the morning. So those is priority one, getting those done by 24, 25. And then the widening of 31 is on the state 3-year list. That was another big, huge achievement.
We call it Price's Highway.
Here you go. I this morning I thought about it. Totally forgot. Sorry about that. And but Price's Highway and Buckner Road, we see those running together. Those two. Buckner Road's going to be a much bigger challenge with the road widening.
Yeah.
As we all know, if you rode that
like
road,
a roller coaster.
It's going to be
it's pretty tight.
And with the utilities, we're going to have to probably buy 4 or 5 houses to do it. And we're talking about a roundabout on Buckner Road. And then we see that working in along with the state widening Price's Highway, So those two will happen. So, hopefully in 8 to 10 years, those will follow right behind the ones on 24 and 2024 and 25.
We also have something. I've got the Advertiser news right here in my left hand, and they're talking about a need for sports fields in Spring Hill. Yeah. And so there's a task force involved. Can you tell us a little bit about this? Because I think a lot of people are just freaking out.
Yeah. Well, this is one that's been on the back burner for me for 7 years now. And I knew we had so many road transportation projects that we had to get going. And people don't realize we have well over $120 million in road projects in action right now. I've named a few of them, and there's a few more in addition to those that we've already got going. So I've been waiting on this one because when I was elected 7 years ago, I had so many people tell me, we need ball fields. We need more paths of parks. We need, something. Our kids don't have to leave Spring Hill to go play ball. And so, it had to go back on the back burner until we could start talking about it. So about 6 months ago, I recruited this task force of people that I knew were very vocal, understood the need of not just the sportsplex, but just local ball fields in particular. And the sportsplex task force did a real good job explaining the two needs. One, we need just ball fields for us. They can be hidden. They don't have to be in high visible areas. They can be tucked away because we know where to go for practice and ball fields. Okay, so we need that. The big, when you hear sportsplex, we're talking about something much bigger. And we would be, if we did this, it would be the most bold thing that probably Spring Hill has ever done, because we'd be one of the first in this region if we had a top-notch, state-of-the-art complex, sports complex with multiple fields, turf, lighting, the whole works. And this would have to be in a very accessible off the interstate, very easy to find. But we could be the first in this region to have something like this at this scale that we're talking about. And here's the thing, all the roads and the infrastructure dollars we've talked about, this one pays for itself. This does not take away from the road dollars. Now, of course, we still have to find the money. We still have to fund it. But this is a huge investment that we get back as a community. Our businesses, our hotels, it's just incredible economic boom. And the task force has done a great job of going out there in areas like South Haven, Mississippi, and these areas that have built these and 20 years ago, and what it's done to their city economically. They know that they got every penny back and more. So this is one of those, to me, it's I hate to say slam dunk, but I don't know if there's enough support out there with the aldermen just to be frank. They have to be convinced. And I've been telling people, so, people come up to me and says, man, I really want that sportsplex and at least the ball fields, at least the local ball fields. And I'm saying, well, you better contact your alderman, because it's going to take 4 other of them besides me. Jeff Graves, he's, of course, the alderman that's over the Parks and Recs, and he's on this task force. Vincent Fuquay's been quite involved in it, follower too. But we've got some other aldermen that have to be convinced. And it's not, we have some work to do. It's the task force is only halfway completed. They just gave us an update. What you read in the paper was just an update where they're at right now. They kind of did that because we're talking about our capital improvements plan right now. The aldermen are, our board. And now's the time to, we do have some money already in the CIP, but we're going to have to put a lot more money in there over the next 10 years to make that happen. And the private-public partnerships would be a definite way to help this thing happen. And we got some, I know we do, we got some people out there that I'm sure that would partner with us, and because it would only help their business in Spring Hill.
And I'm probably looking too far in advance, and if I'm completely wrong, just shut me down. With this new interchange coming in, will there be hotels and that kind of things that would support bringing in these baseball teams or football teams for these tournaments? And let's talk about that, but also, are we prepared to have that kind of traffic come into the city?
Well, with the plans that we've got in place, the ones I talked about, with Buckner, with Duplex, Buckner Lane, new interstate interchange, Price's Highway, Buckner Road, all that coming in the next phase of road transportation improvements. All that's in the works. When the I-65 opens and that area starts taking off, it's going to be a mixed-use type area. And there's going to be probably several hotels. It's going to be a ton of retail. From what they've told me, that you could take over 30 years of retail growth in that area. You could take Cool Springs Mall, drop it in there, and it's more than that. That's what we're talking about. It's that big. And hopefully, the roads we're going to build will be like people prefer, out in front of this all coming. So it'll, and then by that time, hopefully the state will have widened 65 all the way down past Saturn Parkway, too. So hopefully that will materialize also in the next 10 years. So with that and the ball fields, man, it's perfect scenario. It's the perfect scenario.
With the ball fields, on a scale of, this is going to happen, or Festival, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Where does this project fall in line, in your opinion? Or if you had a crystal ball, where would that fall in line?
Yeah. Well, again, it's going to take some political people to stand up and make it happen. And I'm afraid I'm not sure it's there right now with the alderman. It could be, because it just takes 5 votes. But it's going to be interesting where that falls in the next year or two, even before I get out of office on these kind of decisions. But but this is a reality. This is not the festival, And I have to say too, I was an alderman during that time, and I was not out in that field.
So, for people who don't know, listening in, several years ago, well, more than several years ago, when was that?
That was
2009, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere.
Previous to this, there was talks that I heard about that Dolly Parton was always interested in that land, and I was working at Channel 4 at the time, and when I heard a press release come out about this, something big, an amusement park's coming to Spring Hill. Man, I was all over that press conference, but when I saw the press conference, I started to, scratch my head a bit.
Well, you and everybody.
So what happened?
Yeah, because the reason I wasn't out, because the mayor, had asked all of us to come out and participate in that press conference. But, when I didn't see the state involved, that was kind of my decision there. It's like,
well, we were going to get an NBA team too.
Yeah,
right?
NBA, big Hilton Hotel. What's funny is that land was annexed into the city. It's still in the city today, out there vacant, but it'll be used one day, I'm sure. But that was quite an ordeal.
So, as far as ball fields are concerned, are y'all looking at that land? Perhaps?
Well, we have several. The task force did a real good job of every piece of property in Spring Hill of color coordinating. Because for us to do a complex, it has to be over 100 acres for us to do the big scope one. And so there's still only a handful of those parcels left in Spring Hill, for that.
Well, it's 2020 now. What's the population of Spring Hill?
Officially, the last census we did was 40,600. I would safely say we're well over 43,000. And next year's census, I think, will fall somewhere around the 44 mark, somewhere in that ball, 44,000.
Again, we're not fortune tellers here.
Yeah.
But in 2030, what are you thinking?
Gosh, 2030, yeah, we'll be pushing 65, 70,000. And you bring up a whole nother good point I'd like to elaborate on, because I've mentioned it to the board twice in the last 2 meetings, and I'm just getting blank stares. Spring Hill's got to decide, when I became mayor, we knew what we had to do. We knew we had to get the groundwork started on these roads. We are so far behind on infrastructure. So we've done that. We've got the roads in progress. It's not going to happen as fast as everybody wants, but over the next 10 years, we'll get these big projects, first one's done, but we have to look at South Spring Hill. In the next 20, 30 years, it's going to develop. We're already doing more permits, residential permits on the Murray side than the Williamson side. Because I tell people, put a fork in us, we're done on the Williamson side, except for the Alexander Farm and the I-65 interchange. The south side of Spring Hill is still a clean canvas, but it's going to be gone. If we don't do something about preservation soon, which means we have to buy it. We have to do like Thompson Station did. We have to go buy a few hundred acres here, a few hundred acres here over on this side of town. If we don't grab those now, they're going to be developed.
People are talking about perhaps a new city hall and library, maybe library, just a new downtown area.
Yeah.
What's the feedback been on that so far?
Well, and that's another task force I started. Again, I had to wait on I waited on these things because I knew transportation and the roads were so crucial. So I did a task force for the Sportsplex. I did a task force for the downtown area. And what a lot of us envision there is that downtown Spring Hill, this town center area, one, it needs a streetscape update. It needs to be, we need a parking garage down there eventually. But I would love to see like a 12th Avenue South with, a lot of boutique shops and organic ice cream and places where people could take their family into strollers and stroll around and be able to park in a good, safe environment and not have to worry about crossing the road 31 and so much. But that whole area could be so done in a nice way. And I know Bill Benedict and the Historic Commission and this task force are looking at that. And at the same time, I basically gave the preservation piece I was talking about a minute ago to the Tourism Council. And so those three task forces was really what was left on my mind for my remaining time. I thought, at least get them on the table. Let's get the discussion started. Of course, it's hard to get people to focus on those when they're still in traffic and congestion today.
Right.
When they don't see what's coming, that it's going to get, I hate to say it's going to get better because, if we pick up 30,000 more people in the next 10 years, we may just be catching,
And how is that, the widening project on 31 Prices Highway. When we go through that historic area, is that going to bottleneck, or how does that work?
You know what? That came up about, that's reason, here's a story a lot of people don't know either. I think I was a young alderman. I had not been alderman long, and 31 was either on the 3-year widening discussion for the state or was close to it. Either way, in the city, a lot of people came up and said, we don't want 31 widening in downtown Spring Hill because you got those 2 historic churches. It's not going to fit, or at least we thought it was not going to fit then. But now we've done the preliminary engineering to know that, for Miles Johnson to north out of Spring Hill, we can have 5 lanes. Now, they're smaller lanes. They're narrower lanes than what TDOT wants us to do, but they said they would let us do the reduced lanes because how fast are you going to go anyway, But we can do 5 lanes through that aspect. I don't think we can through town center. I think those 2 churches are just too close to the road. So what are you going? Now you're into a very, very contentious discussion about 2 historic churches. Miles Johnson, when it was opened, that was a few years before I was an alderman, but a few years before I became mayor, that was kind of supposed to be considered a bypass for the downtown area. So we don't know. Right now, the widening of Price's Highway starts at Miles Johnson and goes north. Going south, we don't know where that little stretch, and then it goes back to 4-lane once you pass town center from the children's home. Uh-huh. So that little stretch could stay kind of like Franklin downtown is now, the 31.
And I want to go back real quick to the town center. You've got a heart for entrepreneurs. You want to attract small businesses to come in. How can they afford that?
Well, that's where that incubator was going to help. See, could you imagine if we could have provided a space for, just dirt cheap for somebody, like you, was it 2 years ago? I think we had 250 something business licenses, but only 50 of them was brick and mortar. Yeah. People are working from home like you are. People are so an incubator, a business incubator, would have been a perfect place for somebody to set up an office, share copiers and maybe a door attendant. You share those kind of things. We went and visited 2 or 3, at least 2. I can think of one in Birmingham. It was so cool, and I think Clarksville was another one we visited, and these people, they eventually graduate and outgrow the incubator space and go out and get their own brick and mortar later. But it gets them going. It gets that startup moving. And I think that is so cool, and to be able to do that. So, because if I had one wish in life over again, it would be I would have done something on my own, my real job. I would have gone out and tried the entrepreneur approach instead of working for a company.
Okay, Northfield, that is kind of a controversial issue at this point. A library was supposed to go there, may still go there. I don't know. Where are we on the thing?
Yeah, and 2 weeks ago, by 8-1 vote, or it might have been 7, it was 7-1. I think one alderman was absent. The one no vote was me. We authorized a $100,000 study for the Northfield assessment. Okay, I didn't have. I do. I didn't. I just have this thing about analysis paralysis. Most businesses cannot afford to go out and spend $100,000 to do a study to help them make a decision. I think that's what these city leaders are for, and we should be able to take what we know and go with it. But that $100,000 we authorized the other day, and I had to sign. We probably could have spent $20,000, and that would have been for an environmental part of that study. If people were worried about mold in Northfield, we could address that probably for $15,000 or $20,000. But we spent $100,000 to give us a full assessment of Northfield that includes HVAC, plumbing, electrical, the condition of the building. All of that is fixed with renovation. That's fixed with renovation. We put back, if people don't want the library there, that's a whole different decision to me. Okay. We don't put the library there, but now what are you going to do with the library? It would have opened here in about a month or two. Beautiful, huge library, and been totally renovated. New carpets, new wire, the whole works. And now where we're going to put, people think we can build a new library. Well, it's going to be, what I project is going to happen, and probably I'll be out of office, but I project that the library is going to be about half the size or less and 3 times the cost. Because new construction costs about 2 or 3 times more. So I think we're going to end up with the library. It could be, somewhere around where the current library is. And unless the board changes its mind and decides to put it back in Northfield and we get the ball going again. But Northfield, with renovation dollars, Spring Hill Police Department headquarters, the police department is very upset because, now they have been put off for another year, year and a half, maybe longer, that we can get the go-ahead to put them located in there. We're leasing space for them now. Codes is already in there. Public Works, we're hoping to move in there. It's all on a hold now. And so this study we authorized 2 weeks ago, we don't get it back till March, which is almost a year from the time the brakes were put on this thing. And so I think we wasted about $80,000 the other day. And but again, I was 1 vote out of 8.
What were some of the sticking points that made the board go, well, maybe not the Northfield complex?
Yeah, a lot of it was, of course, 3 new aldermen coming in. They come in and they did a lot of door knocking like we all do when we run for office, and which is great. And but they heard, and of course, how mold is. People think it's automatic that a building that's 30 years old is going to have mold, and maybe there is, but again, we could have addressed that for $15,000 or $20,000. If it did, we'll find that out. So I think that, and of course, a lot of people, and I think a lot of people that don't even use the library were pretty vocal about where it went, and they probably have no intentions of ever going and have, but then some probably do. And it would have been, another mile or so to drive around to Northfield. And if that's what the city wants to do is not put the library there, then let's do that. But why we delayed everything else for a year and a half and drove the cost up tremendously is my question.
So what do you think is going to happen?
Boy, that's a good question. We'll see what the study comes back in March, what it says. If it says we do have some issues, we'll have to pay to address that. And then we'll have to make a decision. If it comes back, the library and everything else, all the departments can locate in this building, then I guess we're back to that. And there's always the option of selling the building. If... that's a couple of aldermen have mentioned that. But if they do, we got to find a new construction for Spring Hill Police Department, and codes and Public Works has got to move because we're expanding the sewage water plant. And we know they have to come out of there in the next couple of years. So that might be the next board's work, where ours was roads and transportation. The next city leaders for the next board after a year and a half maybe focus more on those type of things. So it'll be interesting, but I don't know.
city branding, that's been something that has just, recently been a thing. There was a logo that came out that didn't do quite well on social media. We've been kind of vocal about that here on the show and throughout the interwebs there. Yeah. I think the story was fine, but the logo kind of missed the mark in my opinion.
That's what I was going to say too. And you're right on. And we knew it. We kept trying to tell people, that don't get wrapped up about the logo. I don't mean to be too blunt and say that, we could hire probably a high school kid to make us a logo. For $1,500, we could probably create a logo that we all could have. Not everybody. We're never going to have consensus, but that we can get probably the majority of the board to buy off on. That was not the thing. It was the story. It was the marketing piece. Who we are, who is Spring Hill, and we just Monday night we were sitting around talking about the story piece around Ripavilla, about capturing that and making sure we have that into the Ripavilla master plan. It's the same for the city. We had to decide who we are. We have to involve a lot of history there and in where we want to be. And I think that ties into what I was talking about with the preservation, with the sportsplex. It's got to be more than just the roads, and we have been, last 7 to 10 years, we've been just so focused on getting those road projects going, and like I said earlier, people want them today, tomorrow. And, the next 10 years, they're going to see more orange and white barrels than they ever wanted to see.
Oh, the new city flower.
Yeah, that will be.
So, in your opinion, what is or who is Spring Hill?
Yep, I think we're a blend of that, the rural, also with the progressive, young community that we are. Spring Hill. We grew because of attainable housing. That's I went on a transportation trip to Denver. A year or two ago with Williams Inc. Been on like 3 trips with them. We've gone to other cities like Denver, who are light years ahead of us on transportation, and to see what they do. And they mentioned about they used the word attainable housing, and I said, "That's it. That's us." People move to Spring Hill for attainable housing. It's not affordable housing. Affordable housing is more of a Nashville issue, where people have been driven out. To live where they, close to where they work, for high rises in the Gulch and those kind of places. So affordable living is a little different than us because, we're about attainable housing, and we all moved here for that. And but with that, we've got the historic, and I think that's where Chandler was thinking with the fence and all of that, bringing in that little piece there, but it just didn't click with people. It just didn't, even though they had the open gate and all that. So that's okay. We can redo. That's the easy one,
right?
But capturing all that work of, what you do for a living, get that information out from people, because they did their homework, they did their due diligence, they spoke to all these folks and to figure out, why did you move here? Besides the attainable housing, what else brought you to Spring Hill?
And that's going to help you all attract business, which will,
that's right,
help us. But you're going to have people mad again that new business is coming into town.
Exactly, and people don't realize, what we're out there trying to recruit. We don't recruit. Another Mexican restaurant, another pizza place. We're out there recruiting businesses we do not have, which is called leakage. And we know we've got about $250 million in leakage dollars that people have to drive to Cool Springs to obtain. You and I can sit here and name them. Sporting goods stores, office supply stores, so many lady boutique shops, those kind of things. Furniture stores, big furniture stores,
And with so many kids in Spring Hill, I mean, how many kids are there? Like 90 million kids? There's not one toy store that I know of.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about sporting goods, toy. Yeah, well, you're right there, And we know, sports academies looked at us so many times over the years. You kept thinking, surely they would land here one day. But I guess, as long as we're driving, up to Cool Springs to buy it, and I don't know. But these kind of things are the ones we're trying to bring, and of course that and a Whataburger.
That's right. Yeah.
See, I watch you guys. Yeah, I'm a huge troll on social media.
Well, you got Christmas coming around the corner, and what are your Christmas plans?
We don't do anything. We'll be right around Spring Hill. Now, I do have a couple weeks there that since schools are closed. That's the luxury of my real job. And so that'll probably be some honeydews around the house, and getting caught up on some things. I imagine probably a few more city activities what I could squeak in. So
you've got a new family member, don't you?
I do. Thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, I have a new daughter-in-law, and my wife and I, Lisa and I, we have 2 grown sons, so we don't know anything about girls. All we know is boys and dogs. And so we now have a daughter-in-law and love her to death, and she's a nice fit. So we're blessed.
So that'll be a fun Christmas with a new family member.
Exactly. And her mother lives over close to. They actually go to church in Smyrna, where I grew up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
full circle there a little bit.
It's really kind of strange, and it's funny how it's turned out.
Yeah. So I've got to ask you, what is your least favorite holiday song?
Oh God, it's got to be, and I know this one's. Did you put that out the other day?
Yeah.
And everybody, I think I liked somebody because they said, well, Mama got ran over by the reindeer.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That one. I can't believe that would not be anybody's.
Yeah, that's right up there. I can't stand that hippopotamus song.
Yeah,
that's that'll send you to the mental.
My wife loves. I do too. But she loves Christmas music, and she's one of those early bird Christmas decorating people.
Okay, so what time did you have your Christmas tree up?
Well, normally she'd have it up a few weeks before Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. This year with the wedding, with our youngest son getting married, she didn't quite make it like she normally does. And it drove her crazy. Because usually, and she had the trees up by when everybody came over to the house Thanksgiving. And, but she didn't have quite, the village up and everything she normally does. She loves Christmas.
Now, when you get the family together, is there a certain movie you have to watch every holiday season?
I believe that, The Elf. That's definitely my son's, that one. And the one my wife will not watch. What is it? The Christmas, what's the one you stick your tongue on the pole?
Oh, yeah, Christmas Story.
Christmas Story.
You've seen the leg.
That's right. Yeah. I saw that on your Facebook. Yeah, and see, I love that movie. My boys do, but my wife does not. So she won't participate in that one. So maybe the boys and I will watch that one on our own. I love that one.
That's fun. And for people listening who don't know what we're talking about, I do have the official Christmas Story leg lamp. Featured predominantly in the house, so everybody can come by and see that.
I can't believe Keri let you do that.
I can't either. I just have a wonderful wife. Mayor Graham, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
This was a lot of fun.
Anytime.
Okay, everybody, that's all the time we have for this episode of Price's Highway, the podcast. I'd like to thank my guests, Mayor Rick Graham, Chris Yao from the Advertiser News, Scott Sparks and Stacy Moore from Spring Hill Sparkles, Shauna with the weird hair doll, Santa Claus, and Keri Price from Price Sells Homes, and you, the listening audience. Thank you so much for sharing that one thing you can't really put a price tag on, your time, and occasional attention. Price's Highway is presented by Price Sells Homes. Don't think twice. Call Carey Price today if you're looking to make a move. That number is 615-497-3317. And The Big Show is powered by in-house digital media. helping you elevate, educate, and expand your brand. Go to inhousedigitalmedia.com to learn more. All right, thanks everybody, and drive safely out there. And always, always, always give the wave when folks let you into traffic. All right, everybody, see you next time right here on Price's Highway, the podcast.
You've been listening to Price's Highway, a Steve Price Totally Terrible podcast production.